Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we are talking about some interesting, some unique, some non-mainstream design styles, their details, their history, all about it. So grab a coffee, grab a tea, and have a chit chat here with me. Now, the first non-mainstream interior design style we are going to talk about is actually Storybook. This style got really popular in California around the 1920s. It's adorable and quaint, charming, and it's built around this kind of storybook idea. You know, you're thinking, you're reading a little book and it's the evil witch's little cottage with the kids going to eat the candy or whatever. This is that house. Charming, darling, adorable. It has its roots in Tudor architecture. In the 1920s, we didn't have tract homes and neighborhoods being built. You may have had one builder in a neighborhood doing all of the work, but every house was going to be different. So this style was something interesting, unique, it was charming. A lot of these houses are smaller and adorable. Some of the hallmark features are gonna be these really high-pitched roofs, a lot of Tudor inspiration in terms of the color scheme. You may have these wood details mixed with plaster on the exterior. A lot of the homes actually had plaster walls inside, which, you know, I love, but we also see a lot of imagery, kind of like hearts and little doves and birds and little things carved into wood. This is really adorable. It definitely has a bit of forced perspective happening in it, which means things are smaller as they go up to appear taller. That idea is taken advantage a lot in theme parks. So this is a really interesting style. It incorporates a lot of very, very unique ideas. You actually see a little bit of this come through in like children's playhouses, which is definitely fitting because it is a very whimsical style that is very darling, very charming, and I wish we saw more of. Now, the next style we are talking about is actually dark academia, and it's definitely very Edgar Allan Poe, no she better don't. It's a very unique style. It's definitely a moodier, darker feeling, and it is based in academia. So there are a lot of books. You tend to have a bit of that maximalism happening, but less pattern, more of deep colors. You can always mix in some high gloss finishes to brighten the space up a little bit, but we see this with a lot of moody red tones and blues. Oftentimes we'll have black accents. This is very cool, rich in texture, lots of fabrics, throw blankets, pillows, mixing patterns is big in this style, and brocades. I do really like it. I think it's something I would like to visit. It gives me very much Leviosa, not Leviosa. This style can lead into a bit of a kitschy place. So if it is your style, if you like it, if you're out there looking and you're seeing and you're like, oh, that's very academic, it's very dark academia, I love that, but it can get into that kitschy place that you want to avoid. This is a style that definitely speaks to those of us that really love reading and that love books and that love getting into the fantasy, and I love that for us. I think these styles are unique and interesting, and they have their roots in social media, but I am interested to see where this goes in people's homes and their lives and what they end up doing with it. The next style we're going to be talking about is actually futuristic. This is a very unique style. It was really popularized at the 1964 World's Fair, and it's kind of that Tomorrowland vibe, very Jetsons feeling, because a lot of the lines of furniture pieces in this style are very curved, but you have a little bit of that mid-century influence, thin lines, elegant shapes, but it definitely has that kind of like, whoa, what's happening? It looks like a spaceship feeling to it. I do think this is interesting if you like mid-century, but you're looking for a little bit of that swankier vibe to mix a little bit of the 70s in with that. Look for some futuristic style pieces. This is a style that blends really nicely in with a lot of other modern styles. So it's easy to incorporate and work with. A lot of the furniture pieces are white or will be other mid-century colors, and this makes them really easy to work with and to blend into different styles, spaces, and architectural styles. I do really love some of these influences and vintage pieces like appliances, bowls, cookware, and dishes. A really fun style. Definitely worth incorporating into your space if you see any of these pieces, because they actually can be quite rare. This style was not popular for a very long time, but definitely has some really interesting elements and features to it that could be incorporated and layered into a lot of different styles, and I'm so happy when I see it because it's definitely unique, non-mainstream, and interesting. I would love to see more of this in any and everyone's home. Speaking of futuristic and the future, if you are new here, we have a lot of amazing content yet to come. And if you are returning, hey darling, be sure you give this video a like and you let me know what other non-mainstream styles you want to hear me talk about in the future. Now the next style we are talking about is actually Hollywood glam. And I'm not talking about glam, throw crystals everywhere and have glitter artwork. We can leave that where it is, but I'm talking about Hollywood glam. This is a really interesting combination inspired by Hollywood Regency and transitional design. So it is a very, very polished, high-end but glamorous version of contemporary and modern design with some of those traditional influences. I think this style is so beautiful. It is so polished and elegant. It definitely has a commercial-like feel in its scale. However, if you like this style, look for matching fabrics or look to have different pieces upholstered in the same fabric. That way you get a lot of consistency and flow like transitional design has, but that way you still have some of those glamorous and polished elements that pull back to traditional design. Really fun, a unique style that I absolutely adore. A lot of the Hollywood element of this comes from more feminine-based colors. We're seeing a lot of blushes, lilacs, lavenders, purples, pinks, all of that together. But I definitely think this will transition into more spaces where it's neutral or you have greens and blues, oranges incorporated into this. It is a really beautiful style that takes a lot of planning and a lot of thought, but I think this is a really great style to transition glam into if you have glam and you're looking to transition out of it. The next style we are talking about that is not mainstream is my personal favorite style, which is why it's in this video, and that is Georgian. I absolutely adore Georgian architecture and design. I love the scale, I love the proportions, I love the grandeur and the glamour because that's me. I think it's beautiful and elegant because the proportions are really amazing. And I also think it's really unique that a lot of styles have a reference or are named after a period of time in British monarchy. So you have like Tudor, you have Victorian, you have Georgian, you have Elizabethan. In the US, we take inspiration from the styles of the period and call them that, but in the UK, it would be more of a reference to when the property was built. It's a very interesting way of naming properties in architecture, and I think that's unique. But I really love Georgian because of the proportions, because it also has a relationship to a lot of other styles that actually have a relationship to classical design. This style specifically is a little bit less ostentatious than a lot of other ones, and I think that's really nice. You would typically have a stone, a brick facade that was flat, maybe didn't have a portico specifically, but had more ornate detailing on windows and doors. I think that's also really, really cool. And this is such a gorgeous, gorgeous style. We see a lot of it in the Northeast, which also an area of the United States that I love. A lot of the colors used in this design originally were very neutral, and you'd have a mix of painted trim work and molding mixed with darker wood tones. And furniture may have been a dark, unique, exotic hardwood, but then a lot of the trim in these buildings and houses would have been painted. You may have had some rooms like an entryway that had beautiful stained wood and a little bit more of that affordable wood that was painted in some of the less formal or rooms off of that main entryway. Some of the colors used are definitely a classic white, and we see lots of off-whites, creams used at this time, but wallpaper was also very popular. They are few and far between. I really adore a lot of pieces from this, and you can look for pediment, top mirrors, cabinets, Georgian architectural styles, pieces of furniture. Everything about that time period is just so beautiful and definitely something I'm looking out for. I mean, I can't very well say go build a Georgian house because that's not realistic, but if I ever see one for sale, she'll be moving. Now the next style you all actually mentioned to me quite often that you really like, but I definitely think is not mainstream, is British colonial. I love British colonial architecture because I'm from Florida where there's actually quite a bit of it. I think this style is really beautiful because of the history associated with it. This comes from a time period at which the British were colonizing a lot of the world, and there's a lot of history associated with this. One of the most interesting elements is the materials used, because in England at the time, homes were built using brick and mortar and stone. But as explorers or colonizers were moving to other parts of the world, there were not stone quarries there for them to access. So they were using wood, which developed into this new style. We see this all over the world, from Asia to Australia to Africa and the Caribbean, parts of the United States and South America, because this reach extended far and wide. It is a versatile style that works really well in more tropical-based climates because you had tall ceilings, big windows, louvered shutters that allowed heat to flow in and out of a house really easily, and high ceilings allow heat to rise, so you stayed a little bit cooler in some of these really hot and humid places. This style is extremely popular near coastal regions because it works well for that style. It's a style that fits, it's very popular, people like it. I love it, I think it's beautiful. Some of the hallmarks are exotic woods based on location, because obviously we're not bringing like exotic woods from England all the way to South Africa. So we're gonna use the wood that's there, the materials available. So look regionally based on where you live for what kind of wood is popular here and incorporate that into the style. Color schemes were often very vibrant or used a lot of wood. We're seeing this now where people really like pastels. Think very the Florida Keys. That's not maybe my cup of tea in terms of British colonial. I prefer something that's a little bit more subdued. This style is also very popular in Singapore, where you have the Raffles Hotel and a lot of beautiful original historic architecture. I think it's really beautiful. You tend to see this more in black and white there versus some really colorful things happening in other parts of the world. Something worth looking into because it's a beautiful style. This also relates back to a lot of that traditional and chinoiserie, East meets West styling we really like to see in homes today. And British colonial is a really beautiful style, and it works really well in a lot of regions throughout the world. Consider whether or not you live in a region where the style is appropriate, because if you're living in a snowy, mountainous area, maybe British colonial is a little bit much because it's a little bit more tropically based, but I definitely think it's a beautiful style that I don't feel like I see enough of unless I'm traveling somewhere that's like a tropical destination, and I love that for me. But it's something worth considering because it's definitely beautiful, definitely gorgeous, and has a lot of history. The next non-mainstream style we are talking about is actually desert modern. This is a new style we are seeing as people move to desert regions and areas. A lot of this is happening in Nevada and Arizona because that's where the desert is. This is a really interesting style that's kind of based on indoor-outdoor living, but bringing elements, colors, and ideas of the desert into more modern spaces. We have a lot of tans, a lot of browns, a lot of natural materials. This is really cool, very architectural, and becoming very popular. I think it's unique and interesting because we are seeing a lot of more organic materials being used. A lot of glass and steel mixed with stone and natural fibers, but at the same time is done on a crazy scale. Something really beautiful about this style that I really like, and we see with a lot of these luxury properties, like you can see tours of them on YouTube and listings all over the place, but what's really unique to me is that we're not using a lot of drywall materials. We're not using a lot of traditional building materials. Walls will be clad in interesting, unique materials because of that indoor-outdoor design. It almost looks like this architecture is outside. It doesn't look like a house or an indoor structure. It's really interesting, unique, and beautiful. I also think a lot is happening in terms of desert landscaping. People live in areas that have water problems and drought issues, and we're seeing a lot of really great desert landscaping come out of desert modern design. And this is really beneficial because when you got water problems, you're not watering everything, are you? You want that desert landscape landscaping. We're seeing a mix of rock and gravel. This is something really cool, very popular, and we are not seeing it go anywhere because these really modern spaces are very in right now. People really like them, and I can see why. There's a lot of beauty, a lot of scale and proportion. A lot of these properties have amazing views, and they use a lot of low furniture to allow you to see those views and the landscaping outside, creating even more of that indoor-outdoor feel. That's a really interesting idea to incorporate into a lot of spaces and styles, specifically this one. And we're also seeing this using lots of warmer tones. And I'm glad to be getting away from gray everything or that all white modern box, not the vibe. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what is your favorite style that I talked about, and let me know one style I didn't talk about. I also know that you know someone that they are looking to buy a house in one of these styles, but their style does not match with it, and you are not prepared to go over and see your friend's ugly house. Share this video with them, because friends help friends, and I will see you in the next one.